This is the way the world ends.
Hey everyone, Django Fett here. So today I'm doing a different video this time around, and here to talk about the Xbox and how Microsoft kind of killed it overall in this last month or so with their announcements. So with me today is
General CJG here, ready to discuss and talk about the Xbox in general.
So we'll go over that. We're going to start from the beginning when it comes to our experiences with Xbox, and then we'll just go down to kind of what led to the Xbox's downfall. So let's start off with our experiences. So I'll let you go first, CJ.
Okay, so my first experience with the Xbox, let's say it's... Well, I had first seen the Xbox, and some of my friends pretty much playing, not playing, well, actually, yeah, a few of them played Xbox and talked about it. In particular, we say Halo, and Halo 2, I think it was one of them, but I didn't have direct experience with it until I played in one friend's house, a match of Halo 2. Didn't understand, didn't play much, so I didn't know much. But it was then with my best friend's brother that I actually played the entirety of Halo 3's campaign in co-op. That's when my first experience with Xbox and with Halo. And then, because of that experience, Halo did stay in my mind for a while until 2014, where basically in a trip to San Antonio, I pretty much was in like an Xbox store, just seeing what they had in store. I saw the Xbox One and the Xbox 360 in sale, and well, I was like, hey, I want to get an Xbox 360 and give me these games and these games. And the employee was like, sure, though, wouldn't you prefer an Xbox One? And I said, I mean, it would be fine, but I want the Xbox 360 because that has Halo in it. And he was like, yeah, fair enough. So I got the Xbox 360, the 2013 model, the one that doesn't suffer the red ring of death and all the hardware shit. So I got that one with Halo 1, 3, 4, Reach, as well as Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3, 2011 one, and I think a few other games. So that's how I started, and I pretty much, since then, well, I started playing some 360 games. Then one of my childhood and school friends found out that I got an Xbox 360, and so he said, hey, why don't we play online together, all these games? And I was like, sure. And we connected, and from there, we were online buddies for like 6 to 7 years, from 2014 all the way to 2020. We played so many games together, and yeah, it was great. And then when the Xbox One was coming out, and they announced a Master Chief Collection, that's when I knew, okay, now I want to get the Xbox One, because Halo was coming to the Xbox One, as well as news for Halo 5. So I bite the bullet and I got an Xbox One. The next 5-6 months after I got 360 to get the Xbox One with the Master Collection, and yeah, I didn't suffer too many of the glitches and issues of Master Collection at launch, but they were there, so not fun. But I was still kind of happy with my purchase and everything, and I used the Xbox One for all the remaining years and everything. I still own it, actually. That Xbox One original 2013 model. Well, not 2013 model. It's more like the revision 2014 model without the Kinect. So that's when I got the one I got. So yeah, I stayed with that, and then my school friend managed to get one for him from another friend. So we pretty much played together a lot of Halo 5, a lot of some of the Call of Duty games, and plenty of other stuff, including games that were backwards compatible, because they announced the backwards compatibility program in 2015, 2017, somewhere in there. So yeah, and we played a lot together, and yeah, I spent a lot of time on the Xbox, especially since at that time, when I used to be a big Nintendo fan, but the Wii U was a thing at that time, and while I owned one, I didn't have too many games for it, so yeah, all the more reason to go to one of the other consoles, and that was the Xbox. So yeah, that happened, and yeah, and I had the Xbox for a long while, and it was still like, say, 2020 that COVID came in, so I was stuck inside and definitely played a lot more Xbox at that time. And my interest in Halo grew more and more the more I played, but I played other games of Xbox, and my library grew and grew with Xbox 360, a few OG Xbox, and Xbox One. And by 2020, late 2020, I think early 2021, I got for Christmas the Xbox Series X from my father. And then basically with that, full backwards compatibility with all my games, and it was amazing. And after that, well, let's say that my school buddy got so busy with life, I was unable to play. However, he eventually he got replaced by somebody else that came in 2021 and became my new online buddy for a long while. And yeah, and so Xbox to me had given me not only a newfound love and strong appreciation for its IPs, mainly Halo. I mean, my avatar's of Halo 4 Spartan, for God's sakes, so that should say a lot. But it also had given me a lot of experiences with the two people that I played online the most, my school buddy and the other person that eventually became one of my two best friends of all time. So it changed a lot. Like, if it had not been for Xbox, I would have not had all of that. Like, Xbox truly did change my life in my late teens and young adult years for a long time. Like, it definitely meant a lot to me, and now seeing it just become what it is, which is nothing, it's like, it's definitely not cool. And yeah, I'll definitely get a bit more in depth when it comes to the latest years on how Xbox affected me personally in some ways, and also in my other inner circle. But yeah, as a basic gist, the Xbox did shape my early adult years a lot. So yeah, that's how it went in my end. So I'll let you take the mic now, the Django.
Okay. So I was really excited for the original Xbox. It's like back then it was just kind of a weird state because it's like you had Sega, you had PlayStation, you had Nintendo all in the mix, and then you had Microsoft come in. So it's just kind of like a weird thing coming in, like these brand new players. So you're just like not sure, but at the same time you were excited because they had some really interesting titles, like Halo, for instance. That was like their big thing, and it turned out great for them, of course. And you know, I have a lot of great memories of the original Halo on the original Xbox, and playing Halo with my friends. And we would also always play like split screen, and there would also be like when I went to school and high school and stuff, there was like LAN parties, and we'd all play this together, Halo 1, and just have a blast. And you know, I loved that. That was just so much fun for me, and that just made everything for me. And then, you know, they have other great titles like Escape from Butcher Bay, Chronicles of Riddick, Forza, you know, plenty of others you can think of. Oddworld, Munch's Odyssey. Those meant so much to me. And you know, I love that. I love that original console, and it meant the world to me. So original Xbox just has a special place in my heart, and I loved it. Then when it comes to the 360, I also loved that very much too. It was more so multi-plat, but it still had the iconic first-party exclusives as well. It didn't go away from that, and it still had some great games that I truly cherish. And I forgot on the original Xbox was also Coder 1 and Coder 2. So can't believe I forgot those ones. But those are, you know, Coder 1 is like my favorite game of all time, so can't forget that. And going back to 360, you know, you still had some great games. Halo Reach, for instance, that's another great one. And you know, times were great. And even though I actually went through because of the Red Ring of Death, I actually went through, I think, 2 or 3 Xbox 360s at the time. But I still love the console. I mean, they had some still great games, so that's all that mattered to me. So I didn't care. I still loved it.
I forgot to mention that while I never went through a Red Ring of Death ever because I got the 2013 model, my dad did get the Red Ring of Death on his Xbox 360. So he had to get his fixed, which he did, and it works right now. So forgot to mention that in my story, but yeah. Yeah. I mean, it was still like, even though it's not cool how they released it like that, but you still had fun playing through it. It didn't matter. So that was the only one time that, you know, we could excuse it back in the day. But we enjoyed it. And then Xbox One was announced, and I just hated it. I was like, I don't want anything to do with Microsoft at this point. I actually came around to it because my brother was into it, and he was fine with it. He still wanted to get it, so I was like, okay, whatever. So he got it, and then I just like kind of watched him play. Yeah, I mean, I was still
playing some of the games, but there was not really anything that I really wanted to play. So I wanted to go down to the PlayStation route, but I ended up just going full on PC. Well, it actually took some time. Then I went full on PC, and then the Series S and X, and that just kind of cemented me for just like, yeah, I'm just. Even though I got the Series X, it seemed like a really cool hardware. It's just kind of sitting there, just like my Wii right now, and it's just like Nintendo Wii is just like just sitting there for me. And not the Wii, I'm thinking of it's the Switch 2 or Switch a console. I don't know why I was thinking the Wii. Yeah, there's the Switch. It was just sitting there for me, even though it's got some great games on there. But I just yeah, I mean, there's gonna be a Switch 2, so that's something to look forward to. But you can expect Nintendo to actually have the first-party exclusives and not to get away from that. But Series X, I mean, there's like nothing. It's just Game Pass, so there's not really anything to look out for. But that's a topic for another discussion later on. But yeah, I mean, I've had ups and downs with Microsoft when it comes to the Xbox consoles, but I had some great moments that just really, cemented it for me. So it's sad to see them go down this route, but we'll go more into that when it comes to that. But yeah, let's go into our next topic. So it's going into the Xbox One era.
Okay, this era is pretty important and is one of the main reasons why Xbox is where it is right now. So, okay, so the Xbox One era. Django, do you have a main summary idea on what happened with this one, or shall I be the one to say how it went?
I'll let you say it.
Okay. So let's just say that the Xbox One, coming off the success of the Xbox 360, while yes, the PS3 did narrowly beat the Xbox 360 by a bit, the main reason that happened is because the Xbox 360 in the last 2 to 3 years under Don Matrick were pretty much focusing all on the Kinect sensor. You know, the Kinect, the one that where your whole body is the controller and you pretty much play games using your body instead of an actual controller. So, and they released stuff, you know, like Kinect Adventures, Kinect Sports, Kinect Demos, and also Star Wars for Kinect, Dragon Ball Z for Kinect, and you know, all these Kinect exclusive games. And they were not really releasing that many compelling first-party exclusives. There were a few like Halo Reach and Gears of War 3, and I guess Gears of War Judgment, but Judgment's considered not the best one of the 360 era. So there were a few, but obviously because most of their time was focused on the Kinect exclusives, they lost that last momentum, and Sony took advantage of it by releasing stuff like God of War 3 to Uncharted 3 to, of course, The Last of Us in 2013. So they were able to finally pick up the slack and managed to very narrowly beat the Xbox 360. But the Xbox 360 could have won if they hadn't focused on the Kinect sensor. And unfortunately, that focus on the Kinect sensor proved to be the downfall of the Xbox One, because while the Kinect was pretty popular when it first came out, it quickly was just losing momentum because the hardcore Xbox community did not really care for it. It was purely for the casuals. And the next console, the Xbox One, oh boy, from the rumblings to the leaks to everything, and then the unveiling and the freaking interviews and the info that released. Oh my god, not only was the Xbox One going to have a Kinect at launch, mandatory by the way, where you could not even freaking buy it without the damn thing, but it also was going to be fully DRM packed, from not only needing online check-ins every 24 hours to pretty much the console needing to use like a verification code or something so that games could work, because you cannot use used games at all. You had to like use some sort of weird like download code or something that the publisher would give you or stuff in order to actually play the game. So used games was completely useless, and of course the online only shit, and of course the main focus on the Xbox One being nothing but just watching TV and watching Netflix and watching TV and not playing games. The worst of the worst when it came to the Xbox One's unveiling happened. It was so bad. The reveal, so bad everything, that not only were they losing pre-orders for the Xbox One, like badly, people were like either canceling the pre-orders or just straight up not bothering, but Sony with the PS4, holy shit. If you were watching the news, Django, on the Xbox and the PlayStation back then, you would know how much Sony just smacked the hell out of the Xbox One with just some very easy, freaking smooth killer moves. From not only announcing that used games could work easily on the PS4, with even using one of the best ads ever, where it's just I think it was Yushi Yoshida just saying,
This is how you share your games on PS4.
"Thanks."
PlayStation.
One of the most savage marketing ways to cure a competition. But then there's also in the E3 when they pretty much announced not only used games would work, but also the best first party exclusive would ever happen, but also the fact that the console would literally cost $400, because keep in mind the Xbox One costed $500, and 100 of those were because of the stinking Kinect. So not only was the PS4 cheaper and you could just use games, but also did not require the online-only check-in. All those bullet points, Sony literally just said in the E3, the PS4 is not going to need to be connected to the internet. It can play used games. It will cost $400, and it will have the best first-party exclusives ever. Like, all the bullet points, they hit them, and it literally was like, no, the Xbox was like, they just dead. Like, in the eyes of many people, they were like just pretty much dead. Just go home. Literally, just nobody cares for you. And then Don Magic and others tried to defend it by saying how,
fortunately, we have a product for people who aren't able to get some form of connectivity. It's called Xbox 360.
Right. So stick with 360. That's your message. If you don't,
Well,
if you don't like it.
if you have zero access to the internet, that is an offline device.
oh my god, just like, it was so bad. Like, to put it simply, the unveiling of the Xbox One and how Sony responded to it with the PS4 single-handedly gave them like the first 3 to 4 years of dominance in the 8th generation of consoles. Like, it was, the Xbox One was always going to be trailing last, and they could have recuperated. They could have. Now, I know most people will say, yeah, the beginning of this one is the era, it's the end, it cannot recuperate. I think it actually could have, but the problem is the fact that, yes, while the marketing and everything at the beginning was terrible, they could have found a way to recuperate, but the problem is they could not be able to remount, to do a comeback when it came to not only Sony having to, aside from having all of the things that the gamers wanted to hear, and while Microsoft trying to reverse course them, the main problem was lack of compelling exclusives. When it came to exclusives on the PS4 and Xbox One era, so the Django, what exclusives do you think of for the Xbox One era when you think the Xbox One era? Like, what do you think? And even then, which ones do you even consider good or at least groundbreaking? Like, which ones come to your mind?
Oh God, I have to really think on this one.
Well, that should say a lot.
Yeah, it man. I wish I could come up with something, but I just can't right at this moment.
Okay, well, then that means I'm gonna have to be leading the chart on this one. So, okay, so when you think of the Xbox One exclusive games, usually most people will think the obvious trifecta: Halo, Gears of War, Forza. We'll get to those in a bit, but of course, there's also the games like Sunset Overdrive from Insomniac Games. Yes, that same Insomniac Games that makes the Marvel Spider-Man games.
Unfortunately, it didn't do well from what I remember.
Yeah, Sunset
But
Overdrive.
I actually played it later on, and I actually really enjoyed it. I was like, why did people enjoy this? But I don't know. I guess it was the marketing. Who knows?
Sunset Overdrive, I have heard that it is a good game. Some even consider it underrated at this point. I guess you're one of them, Django. But it seems that while it was pretty good, it could have been the marketing, but it also could have been the fact that a lot of people were buying more the PS4, and that game was not good enough to carry any sort of big hype for the Xbox One. At least not on the level of, say, Halo or even Gears of War or even Forza would. So, like, on that level. So there's that. And there's, of course, Ori and the Blind Forest. It's a AA kind of game. Pretty good, but obviously not something that's going to move units on that. So, of course. And then there's, of course, Killer Instinct 2013, made by Iron Galaxy Studios, and, of course, based on the property from Rare. And while that game is considered good, they kind of released it in a bit of a, not live service, but kind of like releasing it in seasons. Season 1 with these characters, season 2. Like, it wasn't a full-on just traditional fighting game of sorts game. It released in like packings. It's a weird way how they released it. It's only till I say the Xbox Series X era or the later end of this one era that you finally could just buy the whole game and just play it all from start to finish. So well, the game is good, but let's just say it was not gonna be moving any sort of needle or anything compared to, say, the Mortal Kombat games that were releasing at the time. Or I guess Smash Brothers. So yeah, and Halo the Master Collection. Well, okay, I said I was gonna get to Halo, but let me quickly that was a Master Collection that released broken, buggy, had a lot of issues. It could have been an absolute swan song, but they rushed the hell out of it and ended up causing a lot of trouble. And it took 4 years for it to get fixed. So not good there. So not good. So yeah. As for Rare, well, Rare, let's say that ever since they were bought by Microsoft, they've not really been doing much unique or amazing. Like they did grab at the Ghoulies on the Xbox, but it was a game that could have been better served for the GameCube instead of the Xbox because of different audiences. And then they released Banjo-Kazooie Nuts and Bolts. Really bad call for them to call it Banjo-Kazooie. It was a bad call. Ended up not being favorable by the fans at all. And then there's Viva Piñata and others. Like, keep in mind, the first two, Banjo-Kazooie and Grab at the Ghoulies, they were stuff that Rare did themselves. It's only till like after Nuts and Bolts released that Microsoft pretty much just told them make Kinect only games like Kinect Sports. So they were stuck doing that. And then when they finally released something good, well, something that at least to call their own, it was Sea of Thieves. And Sea of Thieves, for those that probably don't know or don't even remember, Sea of Thieves, when it came out, was a big playfield of nothing. It literally was launched with fuck all of content. It had barely anything to do. It is nothing compared to what it is right now. It literally was a definition of just they give you a playground to simulate as a pirate, but you cannot really do much of the pirate stuff. It really was just bare bones. It had fuck all of anything. It arguably in that state could have been worse than Skull and Bones. Possibly. Who knows? And you know how Skull and Bones is right now, so that's saying a lot. So yeah, it arguably could have been just almost as bad in that launch state. But now, obviously nowadays, Sea of Thieves is much better. But back then, it was not that good. So it could have been really good, but it didn't. So that happened. Then, of course, there's State of Decay 2. Do you know about State of Decay, the Django?
Yeah, I mean, I played the first one, wasn't really impressed with it. I could see what they were trying to do, but it was just not my thing. But State of Decay 2, I think I remember it was like pretty buggy on launch.
Yep. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Apparently, while people praised it for its difficulty and the score and some of the combat, it had a lot of technical issues and it lacked any sort of depth for its survival and the management mechanics. And while it got like 10 million players by August 2021, there's a big caveat, and we'll get to that caveat soon, and it's actually one of the big reasons why Xbox is where it is right now. We'll get to it. But yeah, State of Decay was one of them, and yeah, let's say State of Decay 2 really was not, pushing that much in terms of people being hyped for. I mean, yeah, it came and it kind of went. I didn't hear much people actually wanting to play it or even knew it existed. Did you hear the Django about State of Decay 2? Like people playing it other than reviewers?
No, not at all.
Well, then yeah, there is that. And Dead Rising 3. Do you know about Dead Rising 3?
I've actually never played the Dead Rising games, but I think that one was I think it went in a totally different direction from the Dead Rising games. I could be wrong though.
Dead Rising 3. Okay, so the thing with the Dead Rising games, most people when they think of Dead Rising, they think of the first game because the first game is the most popular one and the one that started it, and it's actually people's most favorite, which is one of the reasons why Capcom remade it as of late. So yeah, Dead Rising 3 Dead Rising 1 is the most popular. 2 was considered good for the Xbox 360 PS3 era, but then we get into Dead Rising 3, and see, the thing with this game is that it's an Xbox exclusive, you can even believe it. It's an Xbox One and PC exclusive. And the thing with this one is that while some people liked it, unfortunately it had not only less variety than the first Dead Rising, but to make it even worse, apparently had a few technical issues, especially performance issues. Yeah, and some even considered the story to be a mess, and apparently there was some difficulty spikes every now and then, so the game sandbox was enjoyable and other stuff, but to put it simply, the game had plenty of issues and also had forced Kinect usage. Well, not forced, more like optional, that you could use the Kinect to do stuff, and yeah, let's just say, well, it could have been good, but they botched it in some areas. So Dead Rising 3 is definitely one of those that is considered not really one of the favorite Dead Rising games, to say the least. So yeah, and that could have been a solid exclusive, kind of like the original was for the Xbox 360 in some ways, but no, and here it was just not that good. So it just came and went. And then another one, Quantum Break. Do you know about this one, the Django?
Yeah, this is a made by Quantum. I think it was a Quantum.
No, it's actually
Quantum.
made by Remedy Entertainment.
Remedy, yeah, they're the creators of Max Payne. But they did this game, and it was very mixed or very average from what I've heard.
Some liked it in particular for the graphics and the presentation, but the problem was that this game is actually one of those examples of it kind of following on the footsteps of what Don Matrix said about being more chibi. And basically, because this game is actually a mixture of a video game while also trying to be a TV show at the same time.
They wanted to do. I heard the TV show was just garbage.
So yeah, this game basically is what it's kind of following on the vision of what Don Matrix wanted, like, TV and video games. But the thing is, you shouldn't really do that, at least not in the way this game did. So that's why most people didn't like it, because it was more of a watching a TV and sometimes playing a game, but ended up not being that good, especially when it came to the story pacing and some other stuff. So yeah, and of course, and then the PC version apparently had some technical issues, because of course it had. So yeah, so this game had it. It could have been good, but they kind of botched it. So we have that, and yeah, Fable was missing. Fable could have been there, but they shut down Lionhead Studios, so there goes that. So yeah, we did get Rare Replay from Rare, which it's a pretty good collection of games, old games in particular, and yeah, that is definitely one of the better deals for the Xbox One, and it came at the same time that backwards compatibility was announced, so pretty damn good. That is one of the better things. So yeah. Now let's get into the main trio of Xbox. So Halo, Gears of War, Forza. Since I don't have much experience with Forza, I'll let you take the swing on this one, Django. So go ahead, tell me how Forza went on the Xbox One era.
So from what I remember here, so I had experiences with up to Forza Motorsport 4. I actually never played after that Motorsport games. Like, I've only played I think 3 and 4. So this was on the 360. But then I just kind of stopped. I wasn't really interested in it. But when Forza Horizon came out, it was on the 360.
Yes.
And then eventually, continuing on, of course, with the other consoles. There have been the bright spots with the Xbox consoles. So I never really have any complaints with the Forza Horizon games. I think the latest one kind of just, maybe it's just like the same old. You kind of see like the derivative formula. But they still work. I mean, they're all these different locations that you want to explore. They're open-ended, and you just want to keep racing to get new cars and stuff, and they're fun. And I think with Xbox One, with the Forza Horizon, you had, I think 2 of them, right?
With the Xbox One, so for Forza Horizon, you had 4 of them, 3 of them actually. Forza Horizon 2, 3, and 4.
Yeah, okay, wow. 2, 3, and 4. Okay. Yeah, so yeah, I mean, like those are still really good games, and you can actually do backwards compatibility with actually the first and second game. And I think they actually, correct me if I'm wrong, I think they actually took one of the Horizon games off of Game Pass, because the thing is with Game Pass is they do take out games from time to time, and so it's very inconsistent. Like, you're happy that they're adding games, but they're also taking out games. So it's a very inconsistent experience. Like, you would expect them to add things and not just take them out, but they just keep taking out stuff at the same time just to balance it out. But I hate that. I just want them to just add and just keep it on there forever. But they're also taking it out, which is also makes it very unappealing at the same time. But it's still a great deal, Game Pass, don't get me wrong.
Okay, so in regards to Forza, why it's being removed from Game Pass? Actually, when it comes to the first-party exclusives of Microsoft, they usually don't leave Game Pass. All the Halos, Gears of Wars, they're all there, and all the rare titles. The reason why Forza leaves, and not just Horizon, the more sport games, the reason why they leave is because of the stinking car licenses. And so apparently, that's why they not only get removed from Game Pass, but they also get delisted from the store, from the online store. So basically, the only way to play these games, you have to get them physically, because they delisted from the stores, because when the new Forza releases, they delist one of the older ones. For example, when Forza Horizon 5 released, no, actually, when Forza Motorsport 2023 released, they delisted Forza Horizon 4 from Game Pass, and while you can still buy it on the store, they removed it from Game Pass. And even before that, they removed Forza Motorsport 7, and you also cannot buy it anymore. So when the new Forza releases, the previous Forza game, whether it's from the Horizon or the Motorsport series, 2 entries before it, they remove it from the store and from Game Pass. It's because of those stinking car licenses. So this is one of those cases where it's the licensing was causing the listing of the games, not so much for trying to balance out the Game Pass or anything. No, it's the car licenses that it's doing this. So that's why they can't keep Forza on Game Pass. If they didn't have to deal with the licenses, they would keep them all there on Game Pass, no problem. But it's those stinking licenses causing this.
I mean, like the thing is too is like this is like what's the studio for Forza? Like the studio is primarily under Microsoft.
Thornton, yes.
And you would expect them to just have everything on there, and Microsoft can afford it. It's not like they can't. They're like $1 billion company, so they can afford this stuff. It's not like they can't. So making excuses just to get rid of it, it's not like they're in the position like Sony, for instance, or if it, I don't know, just name another poor company out there. I don't know, but it's just like they're like the top out there. So it's not like they're getting poor off of this. So it's like it's just an excuse.
Yeah, it's an excuse. I guess they didn't feel like they wanted to pay all the licenses of every single Forza, Motorsport, and Horizon game, so that's probably why. Even if they are a $1 trillion company, yes, trillion. Microsoft is a $1 trillion company, so even with that, they probably still don't want to do it. They probably just keep around the more latest entries, but the older ones, they just remove them. They still made them backwards compatible, so it's not like you can't play them on the Series X, but you need the physical disc to do that. So that is the drawback to the Forza games. So it's more so that they literally don't want to pay the licenses. They also see it as not worth it, especially with the Xbox 360 and the early Xbox One era games. So that's why they don't do it for Forza. So there's that. Now in regards to Forza and the other games, so in regards to quality, okay, from what I heard for Forza Motorsport 5 and 6, so they pretty much say that they basically were good, but apparently the first Forza Motorsport on the Xbox One, Forza Motorsport 5, apparently the biggest criticism was that it literally lacked content and it had a few microtransactions in it that were just on the egregious side. So 6 was an improvement. They considered an improvement on plenty of areas. I think it still had the annoying microtransactions, but at least it was an improvement. But then we get Forza Motorsport 7, and that one had loot boxes. And not only cosmetic ones, but they even affected some of the gameplay elements. So yeah, that made it one of the more hated Forza Motorsport games ever. And that was before the latest one released, by the way. So yeah, Forza Motorsport on the Xbox One, while they probably had one good one, the others were not so good. So it wasn't as good, as well received as the Xbox 360 era. And it's because they started getting greedier with the Forza games. And Horizon, fortunately, that stayed good from start to finish. It never went in the horrible, greedy route. So fortunately, that was the best exclusive racing game that Microsoft had for their Xbox One and Series X for a while. So yeah, so that's in regards to Forza. Before I get to the other two, the Django, so any final thoughts on Forza?
No, I don't.
Okay, well, Gears of War. Okay, Gears of War. So what do you got from Gears of War, the Django, or you never played them?
So I gotta be honest, I played up to, I think the first 3 games, and then after that I was not really interested in Gears of War. I've heard nothing but great things about it, but when I played those, I was just like not like super impressed. I'd rather be playing Halo, to be honest, but I can understand the appeal, but they were just not for me.
Okay, so Gears of War, I liked it, especially Gears of War 1. for the Xbox 360. I haven't played much of the others, but this is what I have absolutely seen and heard from the reception of the Gears of War games leading up to it. So, the Gears of War trilogy on the Xbox 360, amazing. It's considered one of the best gaming trilogies of all time, and also one of the best killer apps of the Xbox 360. No questions asked, one of the best. And those were made by Epic Games. Yes, they were made by Epic Games and the developers that used to do the Unreal Tournament games. So it had that development studio and everything. But then Epic Games wanted to do their own thing, and they moved on. Microsoft bought the IP of Gears of War from them, and they created a studio called the Coalition. And from that, they made Gears of War 4 and then Gears of War 5. Oh, excuse me, Gears 5. So 2 games. Gears of War 4 released on the Xbox One in, I believe it was 2016. Okay, and from what I've heard from this game, okay, people did consider it pretty damn good. The thing is, aside from a few technical issues, some said the campaign was a bit lackluster, and some of the stuff that they did with the story, I mean, cool, some not so good. So they consider it pretty good. But considered good, but not up to the levels of the Gears of War 1 to 3. So not as good as those, but still pretty good. So it was at least good for the most part. Then Gears of War 5 came out, and those some may think of it as an Xbox Series X exclusive. No, it actually released on the Xbox One era in 2019. So it's actually one of the last two years of exclusives that it released. And this one, okay, people really liked it, and they praised the gameplay, campaign presentation, and also the amount of content, but plenty criticized it for the story, and some even called it as not being too innovative, to say the least. So one of the previous criticisms of Gears of War with 4 was how they handled the story. So in this case, it seems that they kind of brought that issue back. So this one, pretty good, but also not really moving up the needle in terms of shaping the franchise. So that's how it went with this one. And so Gears of War, while good, it was not really being amazing or moving a lot of Xbox console units. So it wasn't really it was kind of a killer app, but also not really. So it was just a good game to play, but it was not really, selling Xboxes like the first 3 Gears of War games were. So that was the thing with this one. So, and also there were a few criticisms of the multiplayer with Gears 5 and a few other things. So there's that too. So yeah, to put it simply, the Gears of War franchise, while good, it was not amazing as it used to be. So it was starting to dip down in quality. So that's what happened with that franchise with Gears of War. So yeah, and before I get to the one that used to be the killer app, the Django, any final things to say on Gears of War?
No.
Okay, so now Halo. Oh boy. Oh, this one pains me more. Fuck. Okay, so before I talk about this one, so I'll let you speak to Django, because this one I'm definitely gonna go on a small, quick tangent on how it went. So you go first, Django, before I start to
Okay.
it.
So you're talking about Halo for the Xbox One.
Basically, I'm going with Halo under the leadership of 343, but yeah, you could say Halo 4, actually. I guess you could include it too.
Okay. So I gotta admit, I've played Halos 1 to 3, and then Halo Reach, of course, and ODST. I actually do enjoy ODST. I think it's still a good game. And so I played those, and then I kind of have a hiatus because, I thought it was just kind of a good conclusion. Didn't really want more, but then 343 kind of took over. And they also did the, Halo 4, 5. I didn't actually play 4 at the time. I actually played 4 through the Halo Master Chief Collection, which released in a terrible state, as we all know. Whether it's on Xbox or PC, you all had a terrible state for the game. Mm-hmm. And it actually took like a year or two for it to actually get better. And I think it's still probably in... Yeah, it's still probably in so-so state, let's just say. Campaign, like, I actually experienced it for the first time, Halo 4. And I noticed that the story was not very good. I mean, it was fine, but it was, you could definitely see the issues with 343. After that, I was not remotely interested in Halo 5, and I think 6 was Infinite, right?
Yeah, it's Halo Infinite.
Yeah, 6 ended up Infinite. So 5 I was not really interested. I skipped that altogether. I heard that. Yeah, I heard this. Nothing but bad things. Infinite I was actually really interested in because it was open world, and it actually was a decent campaign at the end of the day. Multiplayer, I've never been like a big multiplayer guy, so I've just not really got into it. But yeah, that's kind of gone away, and I've heard terrible things on the multiplayer side for Infinite. Like they're not just updating it at all. And there's many other things, of course. And then there's also Halo Wars. I mean, I played like the first one. It was decent, I think. I was not really interested in Halo Wars 2. I mean, I'll probably play it, but I'm not really big into that. Oh, there was also Spartan Assault 2, which was decent, but it's extremely short. But that doesn't, we're not counting that. But when it comes to the Halo games, it's Halo 1 to 3. I mean, that's the great trilogy right there. That's like probably the top tier trilogy of all time for video games. And yeah, Halo 1 still holds a special place in my heart, and it's great to have the Master Chief Collection just actually have I think the first time I actually saw a feature where they actually have where if you press the back button, you can actually revert from the remastered collection graphics to the original graphics if you want to at any point.
Yes.
And I really wish more remasters did something like that, and I think Halo kind of was the first one to kind of do that.
Yeah.
And I like that implementation quite a lot. And yeah, so Halo 1 to 3, absolutely fantastic. After that point, it just fell off. Well, when 343 took over, it fell off. You could say that. And it's gone nowhere after that.
Yeah.
Well, not nowhere, but it's just like, yeah, it just fell off a cliff.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah. Okay, so was that your experience with Halo?
Yeah.
Okay, mine. Oh boy. So when I first truly got into Halo was in 2014, as I mentioned in the beginning, in the opening, with my school friend. And here's the thing: I had bought Halos 1, 3, 4, and Reach, and I enjoyed all of them actually. Yeah, even Halo 4. Both single player and multiplayer. The thing is, the issues with the single player campaign are actually more gameplay related because people actually do think the story is actually pretty good, especially with regards to the characterization of Master Chief and Cortana. So, though it still had a few issues, mainly that there were some stuff that you needed some external material to read to understand it, especially in the very beginning. So, the story had some issues, but it was still pretty good. It was more so the gameplay that had the main bulk of criticism, especially because it felt like a Call of Duty campaign. The whole game felt like a Call of Duty type clone, especially in the multiplayer, but in the campaign you could kind of see it as well. So, and while Halo Reach had a few mechanics that you could consider kind of COD-like, it was Halo 4 that really took it further with the loadout system and some other weapons and stuff. But still with that, I still enjoy Halo 4. Me and my friend played a lot of it in the Xbox 360 days, before the Master Collection, by the way. So we played plenty of it. And even when I had the Master Collection, my friend did not have the Xbox One, so we could not play together yet. So we're still playing the Xbox 360 days. So until he got one, then we finally played that in Master Collection. And then, of course, we played with Halo 5. And Halo 5, I was fucking hyped for it. The marketing leading up to it. I even listened to the whole Hunt of Truth podcast when it came out. I was literally waiting for it. I was hyped for it. And when it came out, I literally bought that game day one digitally. Literally, I capped the game digitally. I did not buy it physically, but I bought it digitally. I was like so ready. I was tackling the campaign. At first, though, those hype glasses blinded me so hard that I literally couldn't see the issues with the campaign. I thought it was a really good campaign, but then when I not only replayed it, but also heard other people talk about it, then I realized the campaign was literally not only one of the shortest in the franchise, but also had a lot of issues from the story itself being just pretty bad, to also what they did with the Master Chief. The setup they were setting up with the hype from Master Chief versus Locke, it was just nothing but a cutscene, and then it ended on a horrible cliffhanger ending, and then the twist that Cortana was the villain, it was just one of the worst things ever. They should have just killed her in Halo 4, but just brought her back for this stupid nonsense. Psych, now Cortana's the main villain, and it was just so bad. It was like terrible storytelling with Halo 5. It completely undid not just the trilogy, but also undid what Halo 4 did. Like they undid even their own freaking project. It was just nonsense. It was stupid. And then to make it even worse from a gameplay standpoint, the AI teammates were bad. They were bad. Their AI was god awful. It was bad. They supposedly tried to. The reason why you played as a squad, as a team always, is because they tried to implement the squad mechanics from Republic Commando into Halo 5 Guardians. Yeah, no kidding. They actually said it in one of the interviews behind the scenes, and they wanted to implement the mechanics from Republic Commando. But I think even one of the people worked in Republic Commando, so they tried to implement that. But the thing is, it was a shitty. It's a very simple, shitty version of it. It just didn't work. It didn't work. It was terrible. The AI was stupid in several times. They couldn't really do much. It was just bad. It was just much better actually playing with other players, because playing with the AI was bad, just straight up bad. So not good. The campaign was terrible. It's garbage. It's easily the worst Halo campaign in the entire franchise. Worse than anything else 343 has done. Seriously, it's that bad. Multiplayer. See, the thing is, the multiplayer. The mechanics are pretty good. The problem is it's too competitive and too hardcore. The casuals can't really get into it that easily. You need to already be not only pretty good with Halo shooters, but also with fast-paced shooting in general, in order to be able to keep up with it. And well, I kind of did get the hang of it, especially me and my friend, my school friend. Unfortunately, others not so much. But the real issue with the multiplayer was a complete lack of game modes, maps, and content. That was the biggest problem. It only had Slayer, SWAT, and Capture the Flag, and a few, and I think a small version of Oddball. It only had like 6 game modes. It had barely anything. It took a year for them to actually add more content, including Griffball and more weapons that were missing. Like, it took a while for Halo 5's multiplayer to actually be in a pretty good state with more maps, more everything, and actually get Forge, because they launched it a month later. So Forge took a while. So yeah, Halo 5, the main problem with it, the biggest one, is the lack of content at launch. And it took them like at least a year for actually getting to a good state. But even with that, the campaign was still one of the worst. Halo 5 is still considered one of the worst entries in Halo history, especially the campaign side. Multiplayer side, some like it, but some didn't. It really depends on who you talk to. But yeah, Halo 5 definitely, unless you were playing the multiplayer and you were pretty good with FPSs, you were not going to have too much fun on that one. So that happened. Oh, I forgot to mention that also Halo 5 did not have split screen, staple feature that has been in Halo since Halo 1, and Halo 4 even had it. For some reason, Halo 5 didn't have it anymore. Well, the reason was because they wanted to maintain the 60 frames per second all the time, but still not good that they removed the local multiplayer aspect of it. But suffice to say, Halo in the Xbox One era, not good. Well, Halo Wars 2 actually is considered pretty good. The only problem was one of the game modes had loot boxes and was pay to win, but it was just a small game mode, so you could just easily ignore that if you wanted and just play the main campaign and even play some regular multiplayer. But yeah, out of all the things Halo that were pretty good in the Xbox One era, it was Halo Wars 2. Yeah, that is the only really good thing that came out of Halo Wars 2. And it was because it was made by Creative Assembly, you know, the guys that make the Total War games. So yeah, that actually was the only good thing of Halo released in the Xbox One era at launch. Everything else either had issues at launch or was just completely lacking in content. So yeah, not good for the killer app of the Xbox, the Halo, and was just this franchise that was trying to stay relevant and just really was not doing much. And then after Halo 5, they did not do anything with Halo other than Halo Wars 2 for years until the Series X era. So we only had Halo 5, Magic Collection, and Halo Wars 2. That is all we had of Halo in the Xbox One era. That is it. And one of them is just a recollection of the old games, which, yeah, pretty cool, but it came out busted. So not much we got of Halo in the Xbox One era. And I don't think it's any better than Gears of War, if you ask me, in terms of the status. If anything, it probably is worse. So the only one that came out winning out of the trifecta in the Xbox One era was Forza, with the Horizon games. So that's all you got for the main exclusives, and yeah. Oh, and I also forgot, Crackdown 3 also released in the Xbox One, and it was heavily marketed as this very impressive next-gen Xbox One experience that it was going to allow players to be able to completely cause all sorts of environmental destruction with whatever weapons and arsenal that he or she had. And what the final game didn't really deliver on that, as well as a few other promises that he had delivered, like Terry Crews being a major player in the campaign, but he really actually dies at the beginning of it. And worst of all, this game was more of a pretty good looking Xbox 360 game on the Xbox One. It really didn't have much in terms of new innovation compared to Crackdowns 1 and 2. Like, it didn't really move the boundaries or push forward innovation from Crackdown 2. And the campaign also was short, fun, but short, so didn't really offer much. So yeah, this game was just came and went. Yeah, that's the state of exclusives in the Xbox One era. So yeah, what do you think of that, Django?
Yeah, Xbox One was pretty middling at the end of the day. That's when you could see where it could go downhill from there. Even though the 360 had issues with the console, you definitely saw that big time with the Xbox One, and it was just so hard for them to recuperate the sales when it comes to competing with Sony and even Nintendo, where they just outdid them in every single way. And it doesn't help that on their initial launch, they released a TV console and totally forgot their audience. So they did this to themselves, and they could have just done so much more from there, but they were just so disconnected from their audience. So this is what they get.
Yeah, exactly. And now there is one important thing that happened during the Xbox One era that marked pretty much a big shift when it came to how Microsoft were handling the consoles, and that was if I recall, it started in 2017. What I'm talking about is Xbox Game Pass. See, okay, when Xbox Game Pass was first announced, it basically was a Netflix of games, and yeah, pretty much was that. Some considered the library at first to be a bit on the small end, kind of meager, not really, like, that basically had plenty of games but not much. But over time it grew, and it pretty much was getting more and more attractive. The main thing with Game Pass is that it's a subscription service, and not only do you get access to so many games under Microsoft, including some of third party, but the most important thing, aside from also including Xbox Live Gold, you got the Ultimate tier, but it also included day one access to the new exclusives that were releasing on the Xbox One and later the Series X and S. So that was the main appeal of Xbox Game Pass, and that was what people were sold on for this service, to get those day one exclusives. And it was a pretty good deal for the consumers. You pay, originally it was like $15 a month to pretty much get access to all of these games plus the exclusives. But that came with a very big caveat that we'll get into later on. But yeah, Xbox Game Pass was the main thing that pretty much changed the trajectory of Xbox. And I myself, for a time, actually took a while to get into the Game Pass. It was only till COVID that I was forced to pretty much get Game Pass Ultimate at that point, because I was still buying my Xbox Live Gold yearly every time I went to San Antonio with the cards. That's how I was getting my online membership. But once COVID came in and I couldn't do that, I had to pretty much just now use my debit card and pretty much pay for Game Pass Ultimate monthly. So that's how it went for me. And yeah, that's how Game Pass, I eventually ended up using Game Pass. So yeah. The Django, how did things go on your end when Game Pass first appeared?
Yeah, I wasn't really sure at the same time, just like they're gonna release all these games and then you could play them anytime. Like like you said, it's like the Netflix of gaming. So I was a little hesitant at first, but I think after like a couple months I actually got into it, and I was like, okay, I could play all these games. And I was playing quite a bit in the beginning when it was released. And over time, I got used to it, and I think we all got I don't know the word for it. I guess desensitized to all of it, like with all the games and stuff, that we get overwhelmed with all these games. That you're just like, okay, I kind of see the same game list. I kind of don't want to play these anymore, and you're just like you feel like you're just kind of wasting money on this, and you're just like, can we have something different? Can we have something new? But it also ties in with like how they don't release first-party games, and while they have, there's a couple on there, and we'll discuss a couple of them, and especially a new one that's by the time this video comes out, it's coming out. They have been coming out with very mixed reception or pretty bad reception. So it's not like they're exploding and making the Xbox brand better. They've actually been hindering it and making it worse. And these are studios that put out games on the Game Pass that Microsoft bought, and they expected to do some great things with it, but have went nowhere. We'll get into those a little bit later. But Game Pass in the beginning was great, and over time I've just kind of gotten just like, I don't know what to play. Like, yeah, there's like new games that come out every couple weeks or so, but they're not like really truly exciting games. You know, there might be like 1 or 2 games every month that I might be interested in, but they just haven't just like made me go back and play that. And usually I actually play my games on PC. So I'm playing the Game Pass games on PC instead of the actual Xbox, which I'm supposed to be playing it on, and playing all my games on PC. So that also will come into our discussion when it comes to Xbox, but it also, I mean, the fact that we're having these Xbox games also coming out from Xbox and PC limits the use of the Xbox altogether. Helps limit the use of it. So yeah.
But keep in mind, Django, that Microsoft has already been releasing some of their exclusive games on PC for a while. Even the original Halo 1 and 2 actually released on PC back then in the 2000s. So they actually already had a history of releasing their games on PC. So it's not like this is new territory. It's just that they didn't do it with every single one of their games back then compared to when they started with the Xbox One era. So that's kind of why. But I don't think that releasing them on PC would actually detract from the Xbox sales. It not only happens if the people buying these consoles are also invested PC players like you, so that would happen. But I know people that actually hate the shit out of using PC and would prefer consoles. So I wouldn't really think that it's PC what takes away from sales. Actually, it's more so other factors, especially since it's been historically proven that PC has not really directly competed against consoles for a long while. Not even in the 90s and 2000s. In fact, if you think about it, they had pretty different libraries of games. And even then, even if the same game was available in both, they were massively different experiences. The 2000s especially, like think of games like Spider-Man 2 or 007 Nightfire. Like the versions you got on the PC were way inferior compared to the console versions. So it was not always that PC was the way to go or Xbox was the way, even back then. Like they never really competed directly. So consoles were always competing with each other and PC was just there as its own thing. So it was never directly competition. A lot of people would probably argue that it is, but not really. It's been historically proven that the best PC games, they never removed console sales. In fact, if anything, the best PC games eventually got ported to consoles, even including Doom, Quake, Unreal Tournament, Crysis even. So yeah, they never competed with each other, so I don't think it really affected the bottom line of any of the console manufacturers at all. So, but I'll get more in depth with that when we get to the next era, because it also involves Sony with that. So, but yeah, Game Pass definitely changed a lot, and it also affected the way that the next generation of consoles would happen. So, but before we get into that, okay, so the Django. We know the exclusives that came out on the Xbox. Do you know which exclusives were released on the PlayStation 4?
Oh God. Why don't you name a few?
Oh, it's gonna be easy. Okay, it's gonna be easy. So
Quite a lot.
yeah. So first and foremost, let's get the most obvious ones out of the way. The Last of Us Remastered. The first remaster they did for the PS4. Granted, released on the PS3, but yeah, there's remastered. Uncharted 4 from Naughty Dog. Yes, that was a big one.
Ghost of Tsushima.
I was gonna get to that. yeah, that's one of them. Ratchet and Clank 2016. Also the Shadow of the Colossus remake by Bluepoint. Detroit Become Human. They also released The Last Guardian. They also made Bloodborne. From Software's game that is still exclusive to the PS4 to this day, and it hasn't even gotten a remaster for the PS5. So there's that. Horizon Zero Dawn, of course. God of War 2018, the reboot / sequel of the God of War franchise. The Last of Us Part 2, there's that game as well. And of course, the most notable one to me, because I played it recently, and holy fucking shit, I wish I had before, Marvel Spider-Man 2018. Yes, I think this one is one of the biggest ones, because not only had the Activision Marvel deal expired in 2015, with Activision no longer making any Marvel games, but the next Spider-Man game was coming from Insomniac Games, the makers of Ratchet and Clank and Sunset Overdrive. And holy damn, to say that it became the best Spider-Man game is a wholly understatement. It literally was the best Spider-Man game ever. And right now, so many people consider it the second best behind the Marvel Spider-Man 2. So yeah, that is the big one. Also others, Gran Turismo Sport is one of them. And also the Yakuza games, though. At one point, they were exclusive to the PS3 and the PS4, actually. They were exclusive for a while before they eventually released on the Xbox One. So yeah, Street Fighter V was exclusive, but that one is considered one of the less good Street Fighter games. Infamous Second Son, considered good, but not as good as Infamous 1 and 2, so at least there's that. Tearaway Unfolded, oh yeah, that's one of the unique ones. First released on the PS Vita, and then it came out on the PS4, and it used the DualShock 4 to its fullest potential, so yeah, that happened. And Persona 5, it first released on the PS4, and while it had the PS3 version, the PS4 was the real way to play it, and it took years until it eventually released to other platforms. So it was a time exclusive, so that came out, yeah. And there's another time exclusive that later released on PC, but that PC port ended up not being that good. And I'll give you one hint, Django.
Final Fantasy.
Yep, Final Fantasy VII Remake. I played the original Final Fantasy VII, and I liked it a lot. But the thing is, I've been holding out on playing Final Fantasy VII Remake because I want the whole game. Because when they announced it was going to be a trilogy, it was like, okay, I'll wait until the whole 3 games release, which eventually the Part 3 will release, and they'll make like a collection or something for the PS5, or I don't know what they'll call it. So, but yeah, but regardless, that was still one of the biggest killer apps of the PS4. So all of these games released for the PS4, all of them moving not only boundaries, but also being so critically acclaimed, winning Game of the Year awards, so many people buying PS4s to play them. Even one of my best friends wanted to get a PS4, well actually he ended up getting a PS4, but because he wanted to play the Kingdom Hearts games and Final Fantasy VII Remake. So yeah, all those exclusives were moving PS4s, while Xbox Ones, how do I say it, Django? To being outsold 2-1, I think it's a... Do you think it's an accurate statement to say it?
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah, because I know that the PS4 actually sold 100 million units, whereas the Xbox One only sold like 50 million units in total. So 2-1 pretty much. So yeah. Oh. What do you think of Sony's PS4 library?
I mean, it's absolutely fantastic, and it also, the reason I really wanted to get a PS4 is because of Ghost of Tsushima, and I absolutely love that game. That is what beats Assassin's Creed for me any day of the week. And I'm not saying all of the Assassin's Creed games. I'm just saying like Japanese Assassin's Creed, and I'm actually going to be replaying it on PC and seeing how it compares to a certain other Assassin's Creed game, which I don't expect anything from. So, yeah. But yeah, that I mean, fantastic library, but yeah, I mean, they did some great things with PS4.
Yeah. So yeah, PS4 absolutely dominated with sales and everything, and just yeah, and all that happened. And also PlayStation got exclusive deals with Call of Duty, where they would release there like a month early before the other platforms, Xbox and PC. So I guess they had that advantage too. So even though Call of Duty in the PS4's one era was the worst era, but still, so I guess there's that. So yeah. Anyway, so yeah. Oh, one thing I will mention, the PS4 did not have backwards compatibility with the PS1, PS2, PS3, while the Xbox One did have eventually with the OG Xbox and 360. So that is one advantage that the Xbox One had, but I do admit, not many people were buying Xbox Ones for that, unless they were people like me, and I guess kind of you, the Django. So, yeah, I was not moving much the needle there. So, any final things to say on the Xbox One era, the Django?
No, I think we can move on to the Series S and X era.
Okay, so the Xbox Series X, S, and X era. So, okay, so we already laid the groundwork on what happened in the Xbox One era, how with exclusives and everything were going on. Okay, so how do we begin this, Django?
Okay, let me just say this right now. If you can name more than 5 Series S and we'll just say Series X games exclusively on the Xbox, I'm not talking about PC, exclusively on the Xbox that you remember and actually were good, tell me right now.
That never released on PC, only on Xbox?
Yeah.
Well, see, that's,
I don't think there is one.
see, that's the thing. They all released on PC day one.
Okay, let me just say on Xbox and PC. Let's just broaden it out like that.
We have to go.
Can you name
have to go
like
yeah.
more than like 5, or just name one?
See, the thing is, okay. See, the thing with when it first released, the Xbox Series X, the only exclusive I can think of was one of them was the Tourist, and the other was the Falconer, but those were like indies, not really main AAA exclusives that I can think of. And Halo Infinite originally was going to be the launch title that was going to release, but there was just one problem: it got delayed because the game, not only when it was first shown, it had a lot of issues, but also let's just say that it needed more time in the oven. So. Yeah, and the only game that I can think of at launch for the Xbox Series X was Forza Horizon 4, but the thing is that game released on the Xbox One in 2019, so they just released a next-gen version of it in 2020, so that's the best we got as far as I can tell. So, and this isn't, and I'm not including PC, by the way. I'm going by the fact that the game already had released on the Xbox One. So there's Forza Horizon 4, and then there's Gears of War 5. That would have been a great one, except that it released on the Xbox One 1 year before it released on the Series X. So it was not really a new game, per say the least. So we really didn't have. You're seeing that the issue here is that they could have had a strong first-party lineup, but because they wanted to release those games already on the Xbox One, probably to boost those Game Pass subscribers, they left the Series X with a launch that was very meager with launch titles, very meager, and the only launch titles they had were either from the Xbox One era or they were indies. Because there was no main killer app for the Xbox Series X, like at all. Doesn't matter if it came out on PC, it had none. It had nothing. I think Flight Simulator was probably one of them, but I believe that released after, so there really wasn't much in terms of exclusives at launch for the Xbox Series, at least one that you could say, okay, this one you can only play it on the Xbox Series X and maybe PC, but no, it just didn't. And granted, Microsoft Flight Simulator could have been one, but that released on the Series X until 2021. It wasn't the launch title even, not even the launch window. So yeah, we really didn't have any launch titles on the, at least exclusive to the Xbox and PC, and just nothing. Just fucking nothing. Just nothing. We didn't have anything.
I mean, I think PS5 actually had like maybe 1 or 2 games.
They did.
But I cannot name one from the Series S or X. Like, I don't think they even came out with one at all for the Series X era. Like, at all. Like in the initial, like that. If you're gonna sell your console and you have no games, why would you buy that console in the first place? I mean, I bought it for the tech and just played it on Game Pass, but that's really it. And yeah.
Don't worry, the Django. You're gonna ask that question a lot later, and that question will be much more significant when we get to it. So, but actually, Bright Memory could have been one. Just one problem: it had already released on PC many months before the Xbox Series X, And even then, some people consider it, well, kind of good. It was mediocre. Well, actually, no, that people consider mediocre. So not much to say the least there. And most of the stuff that released in 2020 for the Xbox Series X was stuff that had already released on the PS4 and Xbox One. There really was not much that actually was like exclusive, like first party exclusives at all. And I'm not even counting the freaking third party shit, but yeah, Forza Horizon 4 could have been one, but they had already released it in 2018, so not good. And then Gears 5, that could have also been one, but it already released in the Xbox One, so also not counting that, unfortunately. And yeah, the Master Chief Collection got an upgraded version for the Series X, but that's, you know, that's a game that had already been released, so yeah, not much there. And of course, there's a typical Madden and FIFA as it released, and so on and so forth with those. And but yeah, looking at the launch lineup of Series X games right now, most of the stuff that released in 2020 was really just third-party stuff. There's barely any first-party stuff. Yeah, Tetris Effect Connected released, and I really love that game, by the way. There's just one problem. It had already released on the PS4 in 2018. So yeah, that also was not giving much to do. So yeah, that happened. And Yakuza Like the Dragon. So the game was not fully exclusive
because it also came out on the PS4 at launch,
but it did have the more marketing on the Xbox. So I guess that was the only one we could kind of count it. So, but that's pretty much it. That's all we got. Really, that's all we have in terms of games released in 2020 exclusives. So, and now we get into. So now, do you want to know the list of the games that released for PS5 to Django exclusives?
Yeah.
Okay, so PS5. So before I tell you the Django, which ones, do you remember any one of them?
On the initial release or just now?
Yes, it's in 2020.
Yeah, I don't remember off the top of my head.
I'll give you one. Demon's Souls Remake.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yep, that's a big one.
Yep, Demon's Souls Remake was one of them. Another one that released on the PS5, but it was included, was Astro's Playroom. A simple demo that was included in the PS5, but at least it gave you something. So yeah. One that did release, granted released on PC too, but it also released on the PS4, Box Snacks. I don't know if you remember that game when they first announced it.
I heard about that one, yeah.
It's basically this first-person shooter adventure type game that you traverse the island to find clues regarding the disappearance of an explorer, and you also eat living fruits and stuff. So it was a weird game. Even when I first saw it, I knew it was a weird game. But regardless, it was still an exclusive, and some people seem to like it, so they pretty much, they bought it. The people wanted to play it, so there's that. Yep. Now, another exclusive that did release when the PS5 first launched was Marvel Spider-Man Miles Morales.
Yeah.
Now, that one is, while it is more of a bit of an expansion, like a spin-off kind of the first Marvel Spider-Man game, it's still a pretty damn big deal for release exclusive in 2020. So yeah, it's still a pretty big one, no matter how you look at it. Like, it's definitely up there. So yeah. So there's that. And another big one that released at the time was Sackboy: A Big Adventure, which, well, here's the thing. This one was releasing on PS5, but it also was releasing on the PS4. So it was a cross-gen game, but it was releasing at the same time as on both PS4 and PS5 on the same day. So yes, it was a cross-gen game, so basically not much reason to buy a PS5. But either way, it still was at least a compelling game to play it. Like, at least it had something new to play, whereas the Xbox, yeah, it had cross-gen games like Gears 5 and Forza Horizon 4, but the thing is, those games had already released in those consoles a while. It didn't release at the same time as the new version came out, so it didn't really give any, like, the option was already made for what platform to buy those games, so it really was not really an exclusive for the Series X, whereas at least at least with Sackboy and Spider-Man, at least you could say, yeah, they released on the PS4, but at least it still was like, okay, now you have both options, so at least you can choose with that. But, I mean, yeah, you could make the argument that maybe releasing on PS4 and being cross-gen, it kind of diminished the sales of the PS5, but you know what? At least it had something for the PS5. And even if you think that all of those games with the PS4 versions did not count, Demon's Souls absolutely freaking counts. That is PS5 only. And I don't even think it's released on PC at all. That is straight up a PS5 only game. So, yeah, basically, so they at least did have one pretty big one. And considering that it's a FromSoft game, well, it's a remake by Bluepoint Games, but it's a From Software, original game that they remade. Still pretty big, so yeah. Sony did have a big one with the freaking From Software. And also the PS5 was backwards compatible with the PS4. So actually, even if you did buy those games that came out on the PS4 and the PS5 at the same time, you could still buy the PS4 version and you could still get it backwards compatible. And if they had a PS4 Pro version, a patch, then, well, guess what? You pretty much get 4K 60 regardless. So it was a win-win regardless. So that's how it went. So yeah, the PS5 had a better library. Sure, maybe the Xbox One had a few more games, but a lot of them were already the games that released. So yeah, the launch, they were paltry. Now, both people argue that both platforms had paltry launch lineups, but if you compare them both, Sony's they had the stronger one, and both also struggled to get consoles to the people, especially because of COVID and the pandemic. Eventually, the PS5 ended up picking up momentum, so that was a moot point at the end of the day. So, but yeah, the launch lineup was like that. But yeah, it can be important, but games releasing down the line could at least change the trajectory. So let's go with the exclusives that came out in the entire lifespan of the PS5 and the Xbox Series X. And oh god, you want to talk giving punches to the Xbox? Well,
yeah, there's quite a few, but I'll let you start it off.
Okay, do you want me to go with the PlayStation lineup or the Xbox lineup?
Yeah, let's just do the Xbox lineup. I mean, the PlayStation lineup we know is going to be quite quite a big, but let's just stick with Xbox.
Okay, so do we do the main trifecta first, or we leave it for the end?
Yeah, we could do the trifecta.
Okay.
Let's do it now.
Oh wait, there's nothing for Gears of War because those games already released on the Xbox One, so that one's done. There's nothing for that one. Okay, then Gears of War had nothing. So Forza, okay, the new Forza games, Forza Horizon 5 and Forza Motorsport. Horizon 5, great game, and I think you played the Django. So what do you think of Forza Horizon 5?
Yeah, I think that one is probably, for me, where the formula just felt a little too samey for me, and I just kind of fell off for that game. I mean, it's still a good game. Don't get me wrong, and I love the location, but I just felt like it didn't innovate, and it's still like being the same thing over and over again. So I hope they do something different down the future with the Forza Horizon games, but I still think it's a good game. I kind of got old with the formula.
Apparently, it says that there's even temples and towns and even an active volcano that you can explore in that game. I actually didn't know that.
And there was actually a DLC. One of the DLCs is in Hot Wheels, so I thought that was actually pretty cool. The way they showed that.
Yeah, apparently it also includes a new weather system that apparently the weather can actually affect the environment. That is kind of cool. So it seems that it definitely has evolved compared to the previous games. I need to play it to be sure. So there is that. Yeah.
I haven't played it, and it's set in Mexico. What the heck's...
Well, okay, the thing is, me and driving games, unless it's an arcade racing game, something like Need for Speed or Burnout, or of course the kart racing games like Mario Kart, or the arcades like Daytona USA or something like that, I rarely play realistic sim racing games.
I mean, it's in Mexico, so you have to play this.
I'll probably give it a shot one of these days. I mean, I am going through my backlog of games that I own but have not finished, so I might do it, so who knows. But then again, I would like to play your Horizon games, but anyway, aside from that, so yeah. Forza Horizon 5, yeah, apparently this is the best Xbox Series X exclusive that they've ever had. It's literally the best. It gained critical acclaim, became a commercial success. It had so many players at launch. It won some Game of the Year awards. So basically, it was pretty damn good. But there's a huge caveat to this title, and it is a damn big one, and we'll get to it later on. So, as much as I really want to mention it, but we'll get to it. Don't worry, it has nothing to do with the game itself. The game itself is great, but you'll get to it in a bit. So yeah, Forza, great. But sticking with Forza Motorsport 2023. Okay, so do you have any experience with this one, Django?
Forza Motorsport
2023.
Which one?
2023, the latest one. It's just called Forza Motorsport, but it released in 2023, so we just call it Forza Motorsport 2023.
Oh, yeah. So I actually for the most part, I stopped with Forza Motorsport after I think 4. I was never really interested in the formula after that, and I just kind of went with Forza Horizon. So I gotta admit, I don't have any experience with that.
Okay, well, so Forza Motorsport. So this game, what's up with this game, you might ask? Well, here's where I will basically go ahead and say that the game, it's definitely considered pretty damn good looking, pretty everything, but there's a big problem with the game. And the thing is, the game was released with plenty of bugs and glitches, and the game's progression system was not that good, and worst of all, it lacked so much content compared to the previous games in the series. Yes, it was worse than even Motorsport 7. And on Steam, it even got mostly negative reviews from players. I'm not kidding. This literally was one of the worst reviewed games on Steam. Yes.
Yeah, right now currently it's mixed. So
But when it came out, it was mostly negative. So
yeah, makes sense.
Yeah. So this game was just not, let's just say no, not that good. And while it was one of the most visually best looking games around, content-wise and also technical-wise, not pretty good. And it also had some similar issues to another Sony exclusive that we'll get to, that it was always online and microtransactions. Yeah. Yup. To say that this is one of the worst Forza Motorsport games ever is a huge understatement. This literally is considered one of the worst. It could arguably even be worse than Motorsport 7. So, yeah, the Forza Motorsport series has been on a downward trajectory post 4. 4 was the last one that people agree was the universally best one in the Xbox 360 days. So that was the last good one. Horizon, at least, has been going consistently good. So at least with that one, it's still going pretty good. But Motorsport, not good. So yeah. And considering that Sony has Gran Turismo 7, yeah, you needed to get your A game to beat them. And especially since Gran Turismo 7 is also considered one of the worst Gran Turismo games ever. Because of similar issues, lack of content, progression system being shit, and also having online-only DRM and some other shit. So both games have the same issues. The same fucking issues. Both have also been hated by the communities. How the fuck is it that Microsoft didn't learn from the mistakes of Gran Turismo 7? Like, Gran Turismo 7 released like a year before Motorsport 7 released. Yeah, seriously, it released a year before, and somehow they didn't bother to fix, or at least make sure to not repeat the same issues that Gran Turismo 7 did. Like, why didn't they see that, oh shit, Gran Turismo 7 getting shit by this? Okay, guys, let's just remove the microtransactions that make the grinding better. Let's remove the online-only DRM, and let's actually polish the game a bit more. But no, they didn't do that. They literally released the game as it did, and it had the same issues as Gran Turismo 7. Maybe you could even argue worse. So both games are just as bad. So you literally have no choice in that. And it's going to get even worse for Forza once we get into the Achilles heel of the Forza series, which we'll mention much later. But yeah, Forza, been on a shit end with Motorsport. Horizon, pretty good, but there's a huge caveat of Horizon, so yeah. And Halo! Oh, fucking Christ, Halo. Halo Infinite, okay. The campaign, yeah, it actually is pretty good. It's a pretty good story, pretty good campaign, pretty everything. Problem is, it lacked campaign co-op, but it gets so much worse when you get to the multiplayer side and the content and features. Halo Infinite released in 2021, and when it came out in the beta phase. People thought, okay, we're testing the game, and then they will eventually release the full game. No, turns out that beta phase was a full game, and what they released in the actual release date was just a campaign. So The multiplayer was not only once again lackluster in content, missing game modes, missing features, and other maps, and even Forge was missing at launch again, and also no local split screen again. So the same issue as Halo 5, but it only gets worse with Infinite, because not only all those problems, but to make it even worse, plenty of technical issues, especially when it came to the online connection and the desync and all sorts of shit that made the connection to play online unforgivably bad. It was like terrible, like lag, freezes, sometimes being booted and crashing the game, just not well at all. Lots of problems. And to make it even worse, it took them not a few months, like in Halo 5, not even a year to get the full game. No, it took them 3 years to actually put the game with the necessary amount of game modes, maps, and content that it should have had at launch. And Forge took them, if I recall, 2 years to release. And the freaking campaign co-op also took them 2 years and released in beta. In a beta form. They didn't even release the fucking thing complete. And we still have no local split screen or any sort of co-op split screen. They literally took them forever. And still to this day, we don't even have a brand new weapon on Halo Infinite. We don't have brand new weapons. We have a botched up version of the DMR from Halo Reach, that just has no scope. And we have now an assault rifle that turns out is the same as the regular assault rifle, just with cooler new appearance. And we have a fuel rod, but turns out it's just a skin for the rocket launcher. So, basically, we haven't really had any new weapons. We had new maps, but the new maps most of them are Forge made, so they're not even being made by 343 Industries themselves. And to make it even fucking worse, the progression system, all of it was just Battle Pass. The only way to unlock new armors, new everything, had to do the Battle Pass. And to make it even more worse, they even locked behind it colors. Yes, you could not choose the colors that you wanted to put in your armor. Like in all the previous games, even Halo 5, you literally had to unlock the fucking colors by either playing the game for so many hours or spend money on the Battle Pass and also the DLC. Yes, to literally just choose the fucking colors of your armor, you had to pay for it. No joke. And this thing was hated when they first announced it 6 months before the game even came out. And even to this day, they never changed that feature. They kept it as it is, and it's still the way it is. And still to this day, one of the most hated things in Halo Infinite history. Halo history, actually. Yes, they have not capitulated to it. They have not made all the colors free. They still are locking them behind them. And in terms of new armor pieces, they're also still locking some of them behind the store. And to make it even worse, some of them you think they would be gameplay, unlocked through gameplay. No, they're locking them behind the store. So, yeah, Halo Infinite is literally a live service game. It is a full-on live service game. And yes, because the multiplayer is free to play, so you don't need to buy the campaign or even have Game Pass. But that still doesn't make the fact that it's still one of the saddest and most pathetic and worst live service games ever. Like, it is one of the worst. The multiplayer, it has so much potential to be really good because the gameplay is so good. The gameplay is pretty... The core gameplay, the core shooting, the core mechanics are pretty good. But the thing is, they botched it up so much with the multiplayer, the progression, and also the desync and connection issues, and the lack of content. Like, Halo Infinite literally had so much potential to be the best Halo game ever, and they squandered it to no end. It literally is one of the most disappointing things ever. In fact, actually, it's my most disappointing game of all time. It managed to beat Destiny. By this point, it beat Destiny, and holy shit, when you beat Destiny and being the most disappointing, you know you've gone so low, because Destiny is also one of the most disappointing IPs ever, but Halo Infinite somehow beat it. So yeah, Halo Infinite has so many problems, and it's so bad that I don't even play Halo Infinite right now in its normal form. The only time I play is just to make a custom game just to make like an offline custom game of myself to play with the Metro Prime 2 multiplayer maps that somebody else made in Forge. That is the only way I play Halo Infinite nowadays, and it's rarely that I do it. I don't do it always. And the campaign, I beat it like 2 to 3 times. Once by myself, the other time in co-op with one of my 2 best friends, but after they actually put co-op. So we did beat it, and Yeah, well, we do enjoy the campaign, but the campaign also was wasted potential because it was set in Zeta Halo, one of the most important and biggest with potential for lore and world building ever in Halo, because it apparently has so much rich history and lore of Halo behind it, and because of the rush nature of the game, they couldn't take advantage of it. They literally did Zeta Halo dirty. If you want to know how much they literally wasted the potential on making an open world Zeta Halo game, just watch Keenan Experience video on the history of Zeta Halo. He has so much history on it, and you'll see just how much they could have put so much into it. Literally, there was barely fucking anything from the rich history of Zeta Halo. They literally squandered the potential on this one with the campaign and the multiplayer, but the multiplayer suffered the worst. So yeah, Halo Infinite, supreme disappointing, supreme wasted potential. They had so much going for it, and that's just how it is, Halo Infinite. So now it's just gonna be this game that will never ever get its resurgence in players again. That's a trifecta of Xbox's first-party IPs, and 2 of them are in a shitstorm, and 1 of them has had nothing so far. So yeah, that's how it is in the Xbox Series X. So yeah, now as for the other exclusives, Django, do you want to get into the Bethesda exclusives?
Oh, yeah, the big one is Starfield. The big thing. I was actually excited for this game, and when I played it, I did not like it at first. It was buggy, as to be expected as a Bethesda game. But you would expect Bethesda to change, you know? You would think. Bethesda would change and actually put it its all after kind of like flopping with Fallout and 76 and Elder Scrolls Online, and trying, going back to its roots with an RPG, just solo RPG. But no, they failed horribly, and it ended up just like probably average to below average for me. They also did an expansion that actually made it worse from what I've heard, and it cost like $30 for like a absolute ripoff of an expansion. And I've heard nothing but bad things, even from Bethesda defenders, that this was just like absolutely destroyed Bethesda. It was just that bad of a DLC, and I was looking forward to that too. And that ended up just like being absolutely trash from what I've heard. And I'm glad I didn't even buy that. And also, that's the good thing about Game Pass, is like you can play this early and don't have to worry about putting money into it. You can just play the game as it is, and you don't have to buy it separately from Steam or whatever on the Xbox console. None of that. You could just play it on Game Pass. So that's the only thing about playing the Xbox Game Pass games for the first party exclusives, is just doing that. But yeah, Starfield was just a massive flop, and everybody will say they just hated it. I mean, even the Bethesda defenders were just like, yeah, this was just not great. And even the modders were like, I don't want to mod this because there's like nothing to this. There's nothing interesting I want to put in there. I'd rather just go back like 10, 20 years and go play Morrowind or freaking Skyrim, and just put some mods out for that. And even Fallout 4, there was like a big mod, Fallout London. That was a big release too. And I think the installation was kind of weird for that one. But yeah, if you wanted to play that, that's free, and also made by dedicated fans who absolutely love that game. And that was just like a big competition to, well, I wouldn't say big competition, but people like really wanted just like that old school RPG first-person shooter that Bethesda has been just getting away from for quite some time, and just don't understand anymore. Starfield was the big failure.
Yeah, but there were also a few others that had exclusive status, but not in the way you think. See, the thing is, one of the main things that happened with Microsoft during the Xbox One era in 2020, I believe, was that Microsoft bought ZeniMax, aka the parent company that owned Bethesda in general, which included Bethesda Game Studios, id Software, and several others, machine games, etc. So basically, Microsoft owned them. So you think all the games would be exclusive? Well, yes, for a time, but there were a caveat with 2 games. Deathloop and Ghostwire Tokyo. Those games, because they had already had the exclusivity signed with Sony, Turns out that those games, they were going to release on the PS5 first, no matter what, even though Bethesda was already bought by Xbox. So instead of trying to remove that time exclusivity and just release them all on the same platform, no, Microsoft decided to honor that PS5 deal and just have Ghostwire Tokyo and Deathloop released on the PS5. And well, okay, I guess. Okay, to make sure nobody gets angry and everything, but there's just one problem. Deathloop was one of the Game of the Year contenders when the PS5 first released, 2021. It was a PS5 exclusive, and yeah, it ended up being one of the Game of the Year contenders. And I don't think it won it. So, but it was nominated. So the fact that literally a game that could have been an exclusive, or at least released in all platforms, no, they won. No, it released on the PS5. So the arguably better Bethesda exclusive games were released for the PS5. So that's fun. But no, okay, those released. But let's get into the other exclusives from Bethesda. The Django. Do you know about Redfall?
Oh god. Yeah, I'm glad I never was really interested in that. Like the fact that Arcane wanted to go in a multiplayer direction, and you could see that with Deathloop, where they were trying to go with that. And I was never really interested in Deathloops too. I might try that, but I was not really interested in that. But Redfall, I was like, no freaking way. No, I'm not remotely interested in that at all. And it ended up as a complete failure. No one was really interested in this at all. It's a co-op against vampires, and yeah, they just it destroyed the studio in Texas, and it actually had to shut down because of the absolute failure that it was. And it's a shame too, because like those are pretty good. That's a good studio, Arcane. I know they have their main studios in France, but you know that I mean, all the blame should not go on them, and I don't think this is a project that they wanted to do in the first place. I think this is something they were forced to do, multiplayer, because their bread and butter is like single player awesome experiences, like Dishonored, for instance. Like that's my jam. I'm actually replaying Dishonored right now, Dishonored 2, the DLC for that one.
They also did Prey.
Yeah, and they also did Prey, and that ended up being very good as well. So they're known for their really great single player experiences, but not so much like getting into multiplayer. That seemed like it was just too forced and not something that they wanted to do, but they are forced to do anyway.
It's because that was exactly what happened. Bethesda forced them to do Redfall, and because they wanted their own multiplayer live service looter shooter, because everybody was chasing that. But the moment Microsoft bought Bethesda, the developers were pleading, begging Microsoft to pretty much just cancel the fucking game and not release it. But Microsoft was like, nah, continue working on it. So they literally could have saved their reputation and saved their time and everything, and not screw the developers and the players in the end. But no, that's just what happened, and they ended up releasing it, and it is literally one of the worst video games ever released. Like, they straight up should have canceled the fucking game when they got their hands on Bethesda and ZeniMax. They literally should have canceled it straight up the bat. If even developers were pleading to cancel it, then you know that literally you should have canceled it. If Nintendo was the one handling the studios, they would have canceled the fuck out of it with no second thought when they saw how bad it is, how the developers were literally pleading to cancel it. They would have canceled it without even hesitation. So the fact that Microsoft didn't, that just speaks to how their management of their studios is not really that great, to say the least. I honestly thought that it was gonna get better after the Xbox One era. I thought they were gonna put in a bit more oversight to actually make sure that they don't really repeat the mistakes of the Xbox One era, but no. It seems that they either continued those mistakes, maybe even doubled down on them. And we'll get to one of the reasons why they got so complacent in releasing mediocrity. So, but yeah, Redfall, shit fucking game. So that was bad. Now, another one that was an exclusive for a while, but it did not do enough sales for Microsoft. Do you know of a certain game called Hi-Fi Rush?
Yes, yeah, I do.
Made by Django Gameworks, and that game is considered really freaking good and one of the best games ever. And it was made by the same company that made Ghostwire Tokyo and Evil Within 1 and 2, so plenty of quality. Just one problem: game didn't sell enough. And when the studio pitched a sequel to Microsoft said, no, not doing it. And you know what? We're also going to shut you down. bye-bye. Yeah, that's how it went. Because the game was not that big of a seller, and because they pitched a sequel, they were like, nah, fuck it, shut down. Because they didn't want to give them the resources and staff to make the sequel. That's why they shut down the studio. Yeah, that happened. No joke. It's just bonkers. Like, and the game was also one of those. I believe it was nominated for Game of the Year several times. I believe. So the fact that this happened, it's like, what the hell? Like, what do you think freaking Naughty Dog got to where they are right now, but just making hit after hit after hit? They had to do some decent to good stuff at first before they got into the really good shit with Uncharted and shit. Hell, when it comes to the Uncharted games, the second Uncharted game is the one that's considered the best one. In fact, it's the one that people consider where the franchise really took off. Because the first Uncharted was pretty good. They thought that it was just a good first game concept. But it was the second game that really popped off. Like, seriously, you don't shut down the studio when they're starting to flex their legs, when they're actually starting to get the groove on it. You fuckers. Dumbasses. Oh, dumbasses. So, yeah. So that happened with Rush. And Hellblade 2, Senua's Saga. Speaking of exclusives. God. Talk about one of the best looking games ever, but a game that didn't have much in terms of gameplay. That happened. Yay. So, yeah. Any of the other exclusives you can think of, the Django? Because I got a few more, but I'll mention them in a bit.
Yeah, there's another. Stalker 2 was also another one.
Oh, yeah.
That one I need to play. I just never had the opportunity to play it yet. But I've heard it's good, but when it was released, it was not in a great state. So it's probably in a better state now, but still needs some updates, I think. But yeah, I've heard some mixed things on that game. But I'll definitely give it a shot myself. And then I would say a new one that's out now is made by Obsidian is Avowed. I've heard it's a good game, but it's not a memorable. It's not like the old school Obsidian titles like Oblivion or Coder 2 levels. It's decent. And I'm willing to give it a shot and just give it a chance, of course. But I saw it as like kind of like Obsidian's equivalent to Skyrim for me, so I really wanted to like look forward to this and actually really give it a shot. But after the reviews, I was like, oh no, this is not a good sign. But I'll give it a shot.
Okay, well, there's that. Another one of the exclusives that released was Grounded, that released on the Xbox One and PC and the Series X and S, and made by Obsidian Entertainment, by the way. It was considered pretty positive, pretty good, and it brought several players, so okay, pretty popular. There's just one big caveat to it, and I'll get to it in a bit. Yes, I know I'm saying that a lot, but you'll see what it is when we get to it. So yeah. State of Decay 3 to be announced on when it releases, because we got nothing so far on that one. South of Midnight is releasing this year, so we'll see how that goes. Perfect Dark, the reboot, to be announced on when it's releasing, so who knows on that one. So yeah, The Outer Worlds 2, well, that's great, but there's a huge caveat to that one, and we'll get to that in a bit. Oh, actually, here's one that did release exclusively for the Xbox Series X. Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024, and it's a piece of shit. Yeah, so do you know about the Microsoft Flight Simulator, the Django, especially the latest one?
I think the what was the issue with that? I'm trying to remember.
Okay, so Microsoft Flight Simulator, you know, is this flight simulator, of course, where you pilot planes, jets, whatever. And Microsoft Flight Simulator that released in 2020 was actually pretty good. Pretty damn good. It was definitely a big test. It was definitely the new benchmark for PC gaming to see how much your PC could handle it. The highest settings and everything, more than Crysis, which is pretty cool. It released on the Series X in 2021. Okay, pretty cool. So yes, pretty good. But then the sequel came out, 2024. And what's wrong with this one? This one is a game that is fully played on the cloud. Yes. You heard me right. There is no installing the game in there, at least not in the big gigas. It's only like a few megabytes because most of the game is on the cloud. It is purely online only. Yeah, granted, the original Microsoft Flight Simulator did need the online and the cloud to render some stuff in real time, but you can still play the game offline with just the world as it is without using the real time. So you can still do it. But in this one, no, you need that online only, no matter what. So yeah, and that was a huge problem because the game launched with really bad server issues, like so bad that it had long loading times. It was plenty of players were stuck in virtual queues for so many periods of time, and when it loaded up, it just was not running at 30 because it's 30 FPS and 60 FPS. It had like some popping and some other issues, but most importantly, the loading issues were a problem, and even was missing content. It had less content than the previous one. So yeah, this Flight Simulator 2024 is literally so much worse than the previous one. Yeah, and it's so bad it even got overwhelmingly negative on the Steam reviews. Yes, another Microsoft exclusive that got overwhelmingly negative on Steam. Like, fuck. How many have they had of Django? Forza Motorsport 2023, Flight Simulator, Redfall? Like, what the fuck? And all of them on from the same freaking generation.
Mm-hmm.
What the hell? Like, that's seriously, I'd be embarrassed by having that. I'd be embarrassed. I don't even think I would sleep well seeing that. But I don't know how Xbox can do it, but somehow they can. So yeah. Fable, by the way, to be announced when that releases. Who the fucking knows when that shit's getting released? Oh, there's another game that came out from Remedy Entertainment, Django. You probably forgot about it. Crossfire X!
Oh god.
You know about this one, don't you?
I've heard about it. Thankfully never played it.
Yeah, it is one of the worst games of 2022. It is really bad. From a shit campaign to shit multiplayer, it's just bad all around. And this is by Remedy Entertainment, by the way. Well, the developer is called Smilegate Entertainment, but Remedy Entertainment also had hands working on this one because they worked on the campaigns, or at least the previous games. By the way, this was supposed to be one of those exclusives of the Xbox Series X to push people to get this platform, but no, this just a piece of shit shooter that just so bad. Just don't bother playing it. It's just not good at all. Just screw this game. So, yeah. And so, yeah, that's all the exclusives for the Xbox, to be honest. So, yeah. And with PS5, well,
Rather than simply tell you about them, let's just show them in a short montage. Enjoy!
Sony is just killing it. So there is that. So at the end of the day, the Xbox Series X exclusives, not really that good. So yeah. So anyway, so yeah, the Django, as we've seen with the Series X era, just not that good. But if you ask me, what really seals this era as very significant for the Xbox, but not in the way we all anticipated,
And that's the next topic. And it's when Xbox truly died. Yeah, when it truly died, when it's the end of it. And okay, so before I say when I think it truly died, Django, when do you think it died? Or when do you think was the moment?
Man, probably the tail end of Xbox One and then the Series X. So the Series X didn't really have that much going for it, didn't have any launch titles, and really didn't have any true exclusive games that you really were looking forward to. I mean, in comparison to Sony and Nintendo, it's not even close. Yeah, it's not even close whatsoever. So yeah, there's like really no exclusives to hold it. I think this is like probably worst list of exclusives, even worse than Xbox One's titles. So that's saying something right there. And yeah, it really is just a sad state of affair to see how it's going towards a more multi-platform friendly direction where they actually want to go towards other consoles. And I'm not talking about PC, I'm talking about the other consoles for that. And we'll get into that. I'll let you talk about that, CJ, about that.
Okay. We had heard rumblings before in 2024 that they were going to do a third-party multi-platform approach, and some people didn't believe him. I also didn't truly believe him. But then they released Sea of Thieves, Grounded, Pentiment, and Hi-Fi Rush on the competitors. That was a caveat I meant for Hi-Fi Rush. So yeah, so they released on the PlayStation now, and they said that it was only going to be those 4 games only. Starfield, Indiana Jones, they're not going on the PlayStation. Oh boy, that aged like milk, because now Indiana Jones, before the game even fucking came out, it was already announced that it's coming to the PS5. Yay! What a great way to hype up your Xbox exclusive. That's great.
Yeah.
So there's that. And so yeah, so plenty of exclusives were coming. But even with Phil Spencer in one interview saying that there's no red lines in between what Xbox games go to the other platforms, I still refuse to believe. At least didn't fully see the Xbox dead, because it's still I was looking more and more, and I was slowly realizing it. But no, the moment that truly sealed it for me as the point that Xbox died is when Forza Horizon 5 was officially announced, coming to the PlayStation 5 in January 30, 2025. This January. And oh boy, when I saw that, that's when I was like, Xbox is dead. Bye-bye. It's gone. Bye-bye. There's no coming back. This is their F-Zero, their Gran Turismo going to the competition. This is like if Nintendo put F-Zero on the PlayStation and the Xbox, or Sony put Gran Turismo on the Switch and the Xbox. This is the equivalent of that. And when you do that, you're waving the white flag. You give up. You're dead. Bye-bye. There's no recuperating from that. No matter what you do, you're screwed. So yeah, Sega did it with Sonic Adventure 2 with the Dreamcast, and here, same deal. So yeah, they're dead. They're gone. There's no coming back from this. So yeah, that's when I saw it was dead. And we don't even have to wait until Halo is announced to be coming to PlayStation, which yes, that will happen. Halo and Gears of War are coming to the PlayStation. Now, at this point, yeah, it's more than guaranteed because of Forza coming. Forza pretty much proves it. So yeah, we don't even have to wait. Xbox is dead. Fucking deader than shit. And right as this video was being edited, it has officially been announced that Gears of War 1 is coming to the PlayStation 5 under the new remaster called Gears of War Reloaded. Yeah, so Xbox's second killer app, their Legend of Zelda, their Last of Us, is now available on PlayStation 5. And to even further seal it that Xbox is dead, Phil Spencer actually did an interview with Xbox Era very recently where he was being as honest and transparent about what games were showing. And he pretty much said that, I want to be transparent with people. For shipping on Nintendo Switch, we're going to put that. For shipping on PlayStation, on Steam, people should know the storefronts where they can get our games. But I want people to be able to experience our Xbox community and our games and everything we have to offer on every screen we can. And yeah, so he's basically saying, yeah, we're going third party on this. And then he pretty much says that I don't want to then look at that and say, well, there's no way that we should be able to build a business here for fine franchises. I'm not trying to move them all over to the Xbox anymore. People were all so invested in where our games are. Let's just allow more people to play. Yes. straight from the horse's mouth. They're done competing. So Forza already confirmed that to me, but this interview sealed it. That and Forza sealed it to me. And so, yeah, straight from the horse's mouth, they give up. They end. It's done. White flag. Xbox hardware is dead. That's it. So, yeah. What do you have to say on that, Django?
Yeah, I mean, the fact that they just want to put Halo and Gears and all these other main party exclusives from Xbox to there makes no sense, because like PlayStation and Nintendo are not going to do that. They're not stupid enough to do that, because they want people to buy their hardware to actually play that. Why the hell would Nintendo release all these games to, Xbox and stuff? It makes no sense. They're not. It's such a stupid decision, and the fact that Xbox wants to do this, or Microsoft wants to go down this direction, means the Xbox is practically dead, and there's no appeal to that. So if all their games are going to Nintendo and Sony, I mean, you're struggling as it is with the Xbox, and it just shows you just want to become a publisher at the end of the day, and you don't want to go into the hardware anymore. That's what it's showing to me. But I feel like in the next couple of years, who knows, this year, you'll see them just go full on publishing and go completely away from supporting the hardware. I wouldn't be surprised in the next couple of years if we see that.
Yeah, so, okay, this actually transitions us to the next topic, the future of Xbox and console gaming. So, okay, so in regards to that, yeah, with what you say, Django, that you wouldn't be surprised. But the thing is, even though, yes, they are going full third-party multi-platform, Microsoft is still committed to actually releasing another Xbox in the next generation. They fully confirmed this shit. They already have an Xbox in development for the next generation against the PS6. Before I say my thoughts on it, what do you think of that, Django?
No, I don't see that at all. I can't see that.
It's confirmed. Apparently, it's been leaked that they are making it. It's fucking confirmed.
I mean, I'll see it when it happens. I'll believe you, but until then, I don't know. I just don't know what because like they don't have any games, so how are you gonna sell this thing?
Well, Phil Spencer had an answer to that, actually. He said, I want people to pick hardware based on the capabilities of that hardware and how that fits the choices that they want to make about where they want to play. And we want our hardware to win based on the hardware capabilities that we have. So they want to win because of their machine being the most powerful hardware in existence of gaming. That's what they want to win. What do you think of that?
I mean, they're just making such stupid decisions. I feel like Phil Spencer and I forget the other person, the other lady. I think she's the president.
Sarah Bond.
Yeah, both of them. I mean, they have to go. The leadership has to go. I mean, they're not gonna do it, but I mean, they're making such stupid moves that there's gonna be like, I mean, there's already been would you say there's been an exodus of Xbox players to other systems, Nintendo, or, well, not Nintendo, but I guess you could say Nintendo, Sony, or PC?
Yeah, not only my best friend is one of them that, in fact, actually I have a small personal anecdote to that. She actually kind of foresaw this in 2023. She basically said that Xbox had an embarrassing lineup of games. They just had nothing really compelling that wanted me to continue playing my Xbox Series X. Well, the PlayStation 5, they have plenty of games that look so damn appealing, especially Spider-Man, and I'd like to get a PlayStation 5. And she got a PlayStation 5, and she loves the hell out of it. And when I heard that, I saw that, at first, I actually kind of didn't believe her. I kind of refused to believe it because I was just being ignorant and stuck with the Xbox ecosystem. Like, I kind of refused to believe it, but then 2024 happened, and I was slowly believing it, and now the death of Xbox pretty much confirms that she was right in not having her hopes up for the future of Xbox and just jumping to PlayStation. She was completely right, and you know what? I honestly should have joined her much earlier, but I guess now I'm gonna do it. So yeah, So that's one example, a personal one, as well as me. But I wouldn't be surprised if other of my friends also start doing it. So yeah, no. And one YouTuber online said that right now, Xbox players, especially Xbox Series /X, S and X owners, they probably feel like losers now because they have nothing to show to their friends in terms of uniqueness to the Xbox hardware because all the games are not coming to PlayStation and Switch.
And plus, like the Series S, I mean, I feel bad for people who got the Series S's because, like, it's completely underpowered in comparison to the Series X. And there's not really any games that, I mean, like, you have to play all your games on 1080p and probably not even 60 frames. Like, it's probably going to be 30 frames. And, like, I understand the appeal for the Series S, but at first, but now it's just like, it was just completely outdated now. It's like, there's no reason to get a Series S nowadays.
Yeah, exactly. There's no reason now, especially because now it has no games.
Oh, and to further make it clear there is no good reason to buy an Xbox nowadays, Microsoft increased the prices of the Xbox Series consoles. The Xbox Series X goes from $500 to $600, and the Xbox Series S from $300 to $380, literally making them more expensive than the PlayStation 5 and the Switch. Nobody's gonna buy it anymore. Nobody.
And since you mentioned, Django, that it makes no sense to decisions, I actually do have an answer to that. Turns out that it's been documented by not only several YouTubers but analysts and others that apparently several factors led into them becoming multi-platform. There's obviously the sales of the Xbox Series X compared to the PS5, which, by the way, PS5, 75 million units, Xbox Series X, 28 million units. Not even half. Already not good. But make it even worse, Game Pass has also not been growing. It stayed at 34 million users, and they wanted to get to 100 million by the end of 2030? They wanted to get to 100 million by 2030, and we haven't even reached half of it, and we're already half this decade, so also a problem. But another problem is that we didn't tackle with Game Pass. Game Pass, unfortunately, while it's a really good deal for the consumer, it's bad for the publishers and the developers because nobody's buying games day one with Game Pass, especially on the Xbox side. We're now, I mean, as you said before, the Django, why do I buy the game when I can just play it for free with Game Pass? I can play the new Starfield, I can play the new everything, and I didn't have to spend $60, $70 on the game. And a lot of people in the Xbox community were pretty much indoctrinated to do that. So, yeah, that happened, and because of that, not much revenue was coming from Game Pass for Microsoft. And that's a problem for the developers and the publishers. And it got even worse when we factor in the Bethesda acquisition, but even more importantly, the second acquisition, Activision Blizzard. And this one is actually the one that broke the camel's back, and it forced Microsoft's CEO, not Phil Spencer, Satya Nadella, basically the one that handles the entirety of Microsoft, not just game studios, the Xbox game studios, the entire Microsoft. He pretty much was like, you spent $70 billion on Activision. Okay, how are you going to make that money back? Come on, give it back, give it back. And so with that, well, they had to eventually start releasing games on not just PC, but also on other platforms. And they also had to pretty much do other sorts of stuff to recoup any sort of costs, which also meant shutting down studios like Arcane Austin, Tango Gameworks, and a few others. So, yep, that's why the studio closures happened, and that's also why there were some layoffs under Activision and others, and that's why we're seeing this multi-platform strategy, because the Activision Blizzard deal, it costs so much money to Microsoft to the point at which basically it now makes Xbox in studios pretty much have the huge Eye of Sauron from Satya Nadella to pretty much now get that money that they spent, make it back, recuperate it. So, yep. That is why all of these decisions are happening with Django, because they basically made several of the foolish decisions to try to bounce back to being competitive in the Xbox, and they bit more than they could chew. And now they're suffering the consequences, and now they're going the Sega route. That is what happened.
Yep. Agreed.
Yep. So because of that, now Xbox is dead.
The Switch 2 is the only semi-direct competition against the PlayStation 5, but even that is not going to be enough against Sony, especially when GTA 6 releases and people are going to buy PlayStation 5s in droves just to play it. And I doubt that game's going to release on the Switch too.
Django, what do you think will happen now with the PlayStation ecosystem? How do you think that will go now that Sony is going to have a monopoly on next-gen gaming?
Yeah, I mean, I was hoping for... I mean, this is why we still want Microsoft to stick around so that they can be competition, so that everybody can do better. That's the thing about competition is, like, even though we don't want to have, like, one company just doing the games because they're going to be lax. And if you don't have the competition, then you're not going to, force yourself to be better and do better things. So this is why we're kind of dreading this whole thing with Xbox. But with Sony, I think, who knows? I mean, because there's no competition with Xbox anymore, and they're just going to compete with, I guess, Nintendo. Nintendo's a different market altogether.
Yes.
And then PC is a different market altogether. I mean, I think it's a growing market because, PCs they're much easier to create, and there's like different machines you can make with that. So it's becoming less harder to create PCs and do things with PCs. But you can play like pretty much everything, even like Microsoft games are coming on there. PlayStation games, like you said. So there is a lot more appeal or a lot more broader appeal for PC nowadays. But with Sony, I guess when it comes to consoles strictly, I think they're going to be the top. But hopefully they don't become lax now because of Xbox. It's just kind of going down this route. But we will see. It's hard to say right now.
Well, I can give you a few ideas on what Sony will do now that they have no competition. Several months ago during this generation, Sony increased the prices of the PlayStation 5 consoles, supposedly to meet demands to the components and shit that they were needed. So, yeah. And they also increased the price of PlayStation Plus by 35%. So, yeah, they did all that. And also, the PS5 Pro has no disk drive in it. You have to buy it externally, and you have to literally connect it to the internet so that it can work, at least the first time. So, yeah, plenty of anti-consumer moves. So now imagine, now there's no alternative to Sony. Now, no Microsoft. Just imagine what they'll do with that. Just think about it, Django.
Yeah.
And worse, they might even raise the prices of their first-party games to $80. They could also do that. They're going to get greedy. Sony's going to get not only complacent and lax, but they're going to get greedy as hell because now there's no competition to put them in control. The last time Sony tried being greedy, that was a PS3. And guess what happened? The Xbox 360 kicked their asses in the first half of that generation. And then when Xbox wanted to get greedy and do shit, Sony kicked their ass in the PS4. But now, who's going to kick Sony's ass when they get out of hand in this generation or the next one? Who's going to do it, Django?
Yeah, we will see. Yeah,
we'll see. So yeah, like honestly, if you ask me, the future of console gaming is gonna get worse when now that there's no competition against Sony. Like even when Sony first started, it at least had two direct competitors. It had the Sega Saturn and the Nintendo 64 competing against the PlayStation 1. So even if the Sega Saturn was struggling, it still had the Nintendo 64. And then when the PS2 came out, it still, the Sega Dreamcast was on the way out, but it still had the GameCube and the OG Xbox to compete against. So at least still had competition. But then, of course, the PS3, it was only the Xbox 360, and then, of course, only Microsoft. So, but now, not even Microsoft. They have nothing to worry about. Whatever Nintendo does, it's on their own terms. Nintendo lives or dies by what they do. PC, same case. So, Sony literally has nothing to worry about. And it gets even worse when you consider that right now, this generation, one of the things that was reported is that apparently in this year, Sony's only releasing like 6 first-party exclusives. 2 of them don't count because MLB is releasing on all platforms and Days Gone is a remaster. Okay? Only 4. Death Stranding 2, Yote, Lost Soul aside, Midnight Murder Club. But guess what? Even though that seems small and Xbox could take the lead, guess what? Because Xbox is now moving everything to PlayStation, they are straight up getting Forza Horizon 5. They're getting Indiana Jones. They're getting Doom. They're getting Ninja Gaiden 4. They're getting Outer Worlds 2. They're getting Call of Duty. And Age of Empires 2. And plenty more. And they're also going to be getting Halo and Gears of War. They are getting more Xbox games than them releasing their own games. I'm not kidding. Literally, Xbox, Microsoft is literally going to make up the bulk of the lack of Sony first-party exclusives this year. Like, this is ludicrous. This is fucking ludicrous.
Yeah, I'm seeing the list now.
Yeah, Microsoft is releasing more games on PS5 than Sony is. And yeah, because there's going to be no competition, Sony can just release 1 or 2 exclusives per year and they don't even have to worry about it. Or release none. They're going to win. They're still going to win. So, yeah, this is one of the examples of why no competition is really, really bad for the industry. Like, and we've already seen what happens when one company in gaming gets a monopoly on it. Madden. But yeah, now with consoles, it's just gonna happen, and don't really like it, to be honest. What do you think of it?
Yeah, I mean, we'll see how the future goes with Xbox and stuff and the console gaming. I guess we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see on that. So yeah, not the best note to end the topic. So yeah, and so I think we should now get into the conclusion or final thoughts on this. So do you want to go first, Django, or I go first?
I'll just say really briefly is that like I mentioned before, we want Xbox and Microsoft to do well as competition, and we've always grown up with Xbox. So to see it to go from the original Xbox to this now is a sad state of affairs, and we want them to do great things. And we thought after Phil Spencer and he would do some great things and actually come out with some great exclusive, because like they bought all these studios, you would expect them to do some things with them, but they've kind of ended up with duds over time. So that's not good to see, but we do want to see Xbox succeed, and hopefully keep to the consoles and succeed with that. But it doesn't look like they're going down that direction.
No.
Yeah, I don't see it whatsoever. So they're going more down the publisher route. We could be wrong, but it looks like the most logical thing that they're trying to do right now, which, I mean, it'll probably make them more money. I mean, less for hardware, less to deal with the cost for that, but it will just sully their reputation quite a bit.
I also forgot to mention that actually, when Microsoft first released Sea of Thieves and the other first exclusives, turns out that they were making like 50-60% of the sales of those games came out from the PlayStation. So actually, them releasing their games on the PlayStation, turns out they give them a lot of revenue back. So basically, their strategy of going multi-platform is fully working. Even lately, it's been revealed that apparently Microsoft is the best-selling publisher on PlayStation. So yeah, it seems that they are not stopping at all with this third parties multiplayer. In fact, they can't stop it. You already know it's forced on the PS5. There's no going back from that. So, yeah, no, that is the end. When Halo, Gears of War, Forza move to the PlayStation 5, one of them, it's the end. And Forza is doing it, so it's the end. To me, it's the end. You cannot go back from that. So, yeah. And so that was it for you, Django? Nothing else to say?
Yeah, that's it.
In my case, I fully consider Xbox dead at this point. The hardware as we know it. The brand might survive, maybe they'll brand it as a publisher or something. I think they'll just call it Microsoft Game Studios at this point. Why Xbox? Seriously, and it's cringeworthy that they made the Xbox Developer Direct only for have no exclusives there other than stuff of Midnight. All the other games were announced coming to PS5. Seriously, in that Developer Direct, it's just pathetic. And honestly, Xbox is dead. Just at this point, I fully accept it that Xbox is dead. It is hard to cope with it because not only did Xbox give me so many memories in my late teenage and young adult years, it also gave me some best experiences with my two online buddies. One of them pretty much became one of my best friends, and one that I got pretty damn close to. And now that Xbox is going, I guess the only way is to join the freaking PlayStation Club. That's the only solution now, to just join the PlayStation Club of the PS5, especially before they release the PS6, and turns out it's a digital-only mess of a console. So right now, this is the only thing. And honestly, I've never been more disappointed with Xbox in so long since this. This is the most disappointed I've ever been. It honestly makes me kind of shameful of even having being an Xbox owner. The Series X, I don't regret buying it because I usually bought it mostly because of backwards compatibility. But a small part of me wanted it for the exclusives. But now it's just I really have nothing to say on how to sell it to others. Literally, there's nothing at this point. It's nothing. So really, just at this point, just freaking get a PlayStation 5 and a Switch and a PC. Own all the consoles except the Xbox, because what's the point of the Xbox? Seriously, it's dead. It's deader than shit. It honestly has nothing going for it. So it's honestly really sad, and don't know what else to say on that. It really is the most disappointing that I've ever been with the platform. So yeah. Honestly, that's all I gotta say to Django.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you again for joining me, CJ, and let us know your thoughts of the whole Xbox and Microsoft in the comment section below. How you feel about the whole situation with them? Do you feel like it's the downfall, like we think it is, or you don't? Just let us know in the comment section, and don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel, and check out State of Star Wars as well. Be sure to check them out. The YouTube channel. I'll put a link in the description down below, and we'll see you guys on the next video.
Bye.
See you guys.